Hi Ananya, hi Arjun, welcome. I must tell you, after watching Kho Gaye, Hum Kahan, I felt like going back to my 20s. Not that I'm too far from it, but the world was so beautiful, so profound, so enchanting, and so real at the same time. And like I told you, Arjun, hats off, seriously. All
Thank you.
my friends have been raving about it.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you.
Ananya, this
Yes.
is quite a detour from what we had seen of you in Karan Johar's film, which was your first film. In the last two films, you have surprised us, and how? What do you feel right now?
I don't know. I feel happy. I feel validated in a small way, which is kind of sad because the film is about not seeking external validation. But I feel happy and I feel grateful. I think more than anything that so many young people have related to the character, because I think when I was young and I would watch films like Ye Jawani Hai Diwani or Wake Up Sid or Jani Tu Ya Jane Na, I always related to these characters and I always wished and wanted more. And I know how it feels sometimes when you're watching a film and you feel like a character is almost your friend. You can feel very comforted and it gives you more than you can possibly even imagine, because sometimes in this world when everyone feels so lonely, it's nice knowing that you're not the only person that feels a certain way. And I think the best response has been those messages where a lot of people have spoken about how they feel seen and how they feel like they're not the only person dealing with a certain issue. So I think those are the best kind of responses.
Absolutely. So, this is the story of three people in their 20s, Ahana, Neil, and Imad. And all of them are trying to find existence, the true meaning of their existence in the digital age, and navigating through relationships which are very complex in today's times. And the movie has been written by Arjun Yu, Rima, and Zoya.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's the origin of the story? How did this come about? From where did this click?
Well, to be honest, I think it came through conversation. It came through Zoya and I, with Zoya and I talking. We were editing Gully Boy at the time, and we would constantly talk about like my generation, her generation, the similarities, the differences, and how social media has impacted my generation so much. And I think that was really the tube light, was like, okay, like what the like friendship at its core is the same between all across generations, across time. Friendship is the same, but I guess what's changed now is how the impact of social media and our phones and our devices and what that does to our relationships and ourselves.
It's all about the phone. I mean, every twist in the narrative originated from something that happened because of a phone. And
Yeah.
the phone is it's in itself. I mean, the digital world in itself is a character. Instagram, Facebook, or any other social media is the fourth character. Apart from these three, why did that happen?
Well, I guess quite simply, that's basically how our lives operate right now. So much of what we do and what we think is because of our phones. And whether it's meeting someone new, whether that's like as Ananya said, whether it's seeking validation or not, so much of it comes from the way we are perceived on our devices. And so I guess like if I hope that answers your question.
That's true. And when the movie was over, I actually took my phone and I put it aside, like your climax scene,
Yeah,
where
with the
instantly,
bowl.
exactly. What a beautiful point to make, that when you're in conversation with somebody, you have to put your phone aside. But right now, just to sound busy, everybody wants to constantly check their phones. One, has your phone usage considerably decreased after having done this film?
I mean, I think initially when I was shooting the film and before the release of the film, because there was so much conversation, somewhere I was also not using my phone that much. I was like in that, zone of, detoxing and all of that stuff. But since the film has come out, I think because of the love and the response to the film, I think all of us are very curious to see what people are saying. And we are checking social media so much. So I can see myself go back into that loop. But I've had a love hate relationship with social media for a very long time. I go through phases and pockets. But I think what I've realized is everyone has to do what works best for them when it comes to that, because it's a game we're all going to have to be a part of. We're all going to play. It's a sign of our times. It's what's happening around us. It's kind of like and away into society in a way. You feel really out of touch if you're not on it, you know. But I think you have to do what works best for you. And I think the most important thing to realize is it's here for your entertainment, and it can just all go away with a click of a button. So not to take it too seriously is what I've learned.
But also, just to add to that, it's like in the movie, we're not saying that social media or your phones are bad. We're just saying
Yeah.
I think what it really comes down to is that it's still a very nascent technology. And I think we're still figuring out as a society how best to use it, right? Like there's a lot of hate on the internet, but there's also love. And I think I think we just need to figure it out. In the same way, Imad finds Simran on a dating app, right? He finds her on Tinder. It's just that the problems are within him. He's using the device in the wrong way. And I think the same applies to Ahana, the same applies to Neil, and the same applies to all of us, really. So, yeah.
Absolutely. As Rumi says, let there be space and togetherness. So while we do have a relationship with our phones, there has to be a little amount of space, that respectful space. So I get that. Absolutely. We can't do away with it, but there has to be a certain amount of decorum. What I really liked, Arjun, in the story was you didn't make it a love triangle. There are two men and a woman.
Yeah.
Boys and a girl, and we have grown up watching Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar and heard this dialogue, "Ladka aur ladki kabhi dost nahi ho sakte" a billion times, and you steered clear of that. Was that intentional?
Oh, it was a choice, but it's also like it's honestly a reality. I have friends who are girls who are from the opposite gender, and that's totally fine, you know, and some of them are my best friends. And I think that's what the film is trying to depict. It's a reality, and we're just trying to stay true and honest to the reality that is our lives.
So लड़का और लड़की आज के जमाने में बहुत हद तक सिर्फ दोस्त हैं. Relationships are platonic, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that's such a great thing. I mean, Bollywood has influenced our thinking so heavily. So that's
It influenced it so much that when I was reading the script also, I was like, yeah, you know, I was also waiting for that to happen. I was like, oh, I'm sure that's going to happen. And a lot of people watching the film also felt that way. But I think it was very refreshing that it wasn't like that. Because as Arjun said, like I have my female friends that I go to for certain things. If I just want to gossip and if I want drama and if I want an overreaction to something, my girls are there for that. And then if I want a reality check, then my, you know, guy friends are there for that. So we have that, you know, in life. And I think the sweetest things have been like we've been receiving pictures of like best friend like trios, like of one girl and two guys. Like after watching this film, they're like, oh, you know, we also have that, and I want a Neil and Imad in my life, or you know, I have an Ahana in my life. So I think those are like the nice ones.
In fact, that's one of the nicest things is when people come up to you and they're like, "Oh, this is my Ahana,
Friend
and
group. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
this is my friends group,"
Yeah.
and when they find those characters relatable, that is the most satisfying thing as a creator. Is just that people are connecting to it and people are saying, "That's me and that's my life."
Yeah, absolutely. And Arjun, when I watched this film in entirety, and when I finished watching this film, the first thing I wanted to know is who is this Arjun? Like that poo moment, who are you? So everybody wants to know. I mean, your hand at direction is so dexterous, it's so good. It doesn't look like you're a debutant director. So everybody would love to know a little bit about you. The last 5 years, how did you get in a contact with Zoya Akhtar? What's your journey with her like?
So one of my best friends from school, Rahul Nair, he was an assistant on Made in Heaven. So he was shadowing Nitya Mehra. And at the time, Zoya was working on Made in Heaven season 1. Sorry, this was season 1. And she was looking for a DA, a director's assistant for Gully Boy. And so through that, very fortunately, and I'm blessed to have a friend like Rahul Nair, who actually directed Eternally Confused. He reached out to me and he's like, "Yo, you should interview for this job, for this opening." And so that's how I met Zoe. Fortunately, I got the job in the room. And yeah, I started working with her on Gully Boy and Ghost Stories, and then in the capacity of a writer-director on Kho Gaye.
And I know that your brother is the CEO of Tiger Baby.
He is. Angad Singh.
Little about that.
Absolutely. So my brother, he studied economics, and he was working at Applause Entertainment under Samir Nair. And when Zoe and Rima were setting up Tiger Baby, that's how he sort of also interviewed and pitched for the job and gave them an idea of how he sees the next 5 years panning out. Yeah. And fortunately, he also worked his way up and got the job. And And he's also done a fantastic, uh, he's had a fantastic spell with Tiger Baby so far. And hopefully there's so much more to come.
Yeah, that's everyone to see. Ananya, you are just the right choice for the character of Ahana. When you were offered the role, just explain that day and just touch upon those moments.
We have a really funny story to this how I got the part of this film. So basically, I knew that there was a film like this being made, and just the thought of it really resonated to me. You know, when I heard about it, I was like, okay, a film about friends in our generation, about social media, coming of age. There's a girl, she's like one of the boys. And I was like, okay, that's me. I can do that. I wanted to be a part of a story like that. But I didn't know how to like get into it. You know, I didn't know Arjun at that time. I knew Zoya, of course, but I didn't know how to get, the chance to be a part of this film. So Arjun had come to Goa where Sid was shooting for Gehraiyan with me. So I was in Goa at that time and he came to narrate the film and jam with Sid. So I knew Arjun was coming. So I sneakily, which was my secret audition, I wore these like basketball shorts and this like gunji, and I was like, oh guys, let's go play football and everything. So I was like, Arjun, come play with us. So we all played football, and I think that's where Arjun was like, oh wait, she's like Ahana. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm like Ahana. And then I auditioned for the film, obviously, and we did an audition and everything. And then Arjun called me, I remember, and I was in this room where I'm right now, and he was like, listen, I really liked you, but like Zoya and Rima, and he made it sound like I didn't get the part. So I was really sad and heartbroken. And he's like, they also loved you. So it was a bit of a drama and a situation. But yeah, I cheated my way into auditioning for this film.
But I remember that moment so vividly. But also, I remember when I went to meet Sid and I see Ananya and she's shooting a promo for something. And as soon as the camera went down, she suddenly became Ahana. Like her entire body language changed. As she said, she became a homie. She became one of the bros.
I guess I was a bit of Lala and Ahana, like at the same
Yeah,
time.
she did transition from Lala to Ahana.
Ahana.
I
Yeah,
think that
Lala, that was also a very interesting character. All the names of the characters in the movie were so perfect. La La Land. That was
Yeah.
such an interesting and a very good character. Aren't so many girls falling into that trap of how many million followers and looking great and going through all of those treatments? I mean, that's another discussion. But yeah, I mean, just to briefly bring that into the discussion, so such an important conversation to have these days, the futility of being perceived in a certain way as opposed to what you really are. Anyway, what a lovely conversation. Thank you.
I just want to add, sorry, I think with Lala, more than a trap, it was actually her job, which I think we all need to come to terms with, that being an influencer is an actual job right now. And it obviously must be taken very seriously. People put in so much time and effort and resources and sacrifices. Honestly, I've seen how much sacrifice it takes to constantly be recording and, all your focus be just on that. So I think more than the futility of it, I think with Lala's character, I think Arjun tried to bring upon the reality and the real side of influencers, like that they're actually doing it as a job. They have a life beyond that, but when it's their job, they're as cutthroat about it as anyone would be in any industry.
And that was the idea. Like you're always watching Lala from Neil's perspective or from someone else's perspective, but you really see the reality of it afterwards, after that little breakup moment. And you see that she's also affected by the hate that she receives, which has to be taken very seriously.
Wow. I'm so glad that you broke into this and you actually came up with an explanation. That is also another side of the coin that we need to see, that that's a job that influencers are doing, and that job also has a certain amount of rationality to it and a backstory to it. Absolutely, point taken, and such a relevant point. Great, what a movie, I must tell you guys. Kho Gaye Hum Kahan. If any one of you watching this has not seen it, this is the time to go watch it on Netflix right now. Beautiful. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you.